So do not go away. Welcome on board. If you are just joining us on radio, my name is Ernest. Kanjo Marcel Adig is in Germany, controlling this broadcast digitally from that end. So thank you once again for joining us on radio this Friday morning, Friday the 12th of July, 2024. And so once again, thank you, and thank you. So for those of you who are joining us on various social media platforms, we want to enjoin you to share their video as it gets to you while we continue to prepare for the start of this edition of Apex Snapshots on Apex One Radio. And like I said, share the video if you are just joining us on Facebook. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, do that as well. If you are joining us on apex1radio.com, then thank you so much for that. If you are joining us on Radio Guardian, we do appreciate that. And for those of you who are back on the continent and who bothered to listen to programs on Apex One Radio, we want to use this opportunity to say thank you so much. And so I have a studio guest today, and with him, we will be discussing a whole lot of things today. Remember, for those of you who love sports, and of course, for those of you who love cycling, the Tour de France, which is the world's most prestigious cycling tournament, has been going on since June the 29th this year. The race is at its 12th stretch now. I guess they're moving on to the 13th stretch. And guess what? There is an African athlete who is becoming a household name as far as the competition is concerned, and we will be talking about him on the show as well. Once again, thank you so much. My name is Ernest Kanjo. I have a studio guest who's right here with me, and I'll just go ahead and say welcome to you, Dr. Yohannes. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome on the program, and it's a pleasure that we are receiving you here on Apex One Radio today. But before we get into into other things, would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners? Come close to your microphone, please.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you, Ernest, and for this opportunity. We've been talking about the success in France, and I really appreciate this airtime. Apex One Radio, I thank you so much. All the stuff as well.
Great.
My name is Yohannes Debesai, originally from Eritrea. I've been in the States for about 29 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, and I was in the Air Force, U.S. Air Force. I served about 4.5 years. After I got out from the Air Force, I went for master's and PhD. So I got my doctorate degree in healthcare management. Now my goal is to contribute to, to the healthcare in Eritrea and Africa in general. So that's my passion. But also, I've been part of Eritrean American Athletics Association. We can talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Thank you so much. I know Eritrea used to be part of Ethiopia before becoming a country by itself. How large is Eritrea?
Eritrea. So the misconception that is that Eritrea was a separate country. And it's an easy proof to say Eritrea has been colonized by Italy for 50 years, 50. and Ethiopia is one of the countries that was never colonized.
Okay.
And proudly, Ethiopians say that they were never colonized. So if part of you was colonized, you would say I was colonized. So they are two separate countries.
Mhm.
But when the colonizers left, because of Western influence, Eritrea was left to be uh, put with Ethiopia, and that led to the longest war in Africa.
Mm.
A lot of suffering. I grew up in that. So in that atmosphere, an individual success means nothing to you.
Mm.
For majority of Eritreans, uplifting our community is our number one goal.
Mm.
Yep.
Right. So I don't like to go
To the history.
to the history,
Yeah.
but what is the population of Eritrea, and what is it about that country that is so peculiar? Like when we mention Eritrea, this is what we're talking about.
So Eritrea is about 5-6 million population.
Mhm.
Uh, it is, I say, mostly it's said a small country in East Africa, but I don't agree because out of the 195, 96 countries in the world, Eritrea sits in the middle
Mhm.
by size. So uh, if we compare Eritrea with Israel, I would say it's 5.6 times bigger than Israel.
Mhm.
So, but the main thing, cycling has been the blood of Eritreans. We grow up there.
Mhm.
It's an Italian influence. Starting from the 1930s, the Italians were doing competition in Eritrea,
Mhm.
and then the Eritreans joined them after a few years, and that has been the main sport. Of course, soccer is also big in Eritrea as well.
Mhm. So tell us about your educational background in Eritrea. I guess you started school in Eritrea.
Yes, I went to school, finished high school in Eritrea. That was during the, as soon as I finished high school, Eritrea got independence. So that
Okay.
was a very epic moment.
Mhm.
After that, we started college in Eritrea
Mhm.
for a couple years, um, and then I did the service for 1 year.
Mhm.
So a service of teaching actually. So I was teaching in a high school,
Mhm.
and then after that I got the opportunity to come to the States,
Mhm.
and then I've been here. I went studied chemistry,
Mhm.
finished my first degree in chemistry.
Beautiful. So you mentioned one of the longest wars in human history. That should have been the war between Eritrea and Ethiopia, right?
The longest war is Vietnam, about
Uh-huh.
35
No,
years.
I'm just trying
Right.
to focus on the Eritrean one,
Yeah, yeah.
which you said it took a long
Yes.
time. So that
Yes.
was Eritrea, Ethiopia.
Yes.
And that was a war of separation. Eritrea wanted to separate from Ethiopia. Am I correct?
So Eritrea was a separate country to begin with.
Mhm.
So it was by force made part of Ethiopia. So we want to reverse
Okay.
that situation. Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
beautiful. And we
Yeah.
just talked about sports. We'll come back. We'll come back to that. But you mentioned cycling as one of the major sporting disciplines in Eritrea. Um, Africans. I also come from Africa, so I know exactly what happens on the continent. We have very great athletes, great sportsmen and women, but we still have issues with sports infrastructure and government supporting sports, lack of resources. Is that the case in Eritrea?
Yes. In general, we can say that there's a lack of resources, but Africans they do great things with the minimum resource that they
Oh,
have.
right.
So we try to be the best. So of course it's across the board,
Mhm.
but there is a lot of investment in cycling right now in Eritrea and in general in Africa.
Mhm.
Rwanda is doing a lot in uprising the cycling in Africa as well. South Africa has been good in the cycling arena. So we can talk about other countries, but the key today is that because of this victory in France, I think we should come together and see how we can make it better.
We should definitely come together and see how we can make it better. His name is Dr. Yohannes Debesai. He is the former president of the Eritrean American Athletics Association, EAAA. His guest in today's edition of Apex Snapshots on Apex One Radio, and he is here also because an Eritrean illustrious son has been performing so marvelously at the ongoing Tour de France, having just won the 12th stage of the competition. Once again, thank you so much if you're just joining us. Welcome to Apex One Radio. Welcome to Apex Snapshots. My name is Ernest Kanjo. Marcel Adig is controlling this broadcast digitally from Warsaw in Germany. It's exactly 25 minutes to 10 here in the studio of Apex One, sorry, radio. And so, Africa may have its own setbacks, most of which is political, but the continent has played a leading role in sports. At least, even for disciplines that the continent is not quite reputed for, Africa has fielded athletes, some of whom have put the continent on the world stage, be it at the Olympics or at other major international competitions. The flag of Africa has flown from individual sports to group ones. African teams and athletes have always demonstrated the zeal and determination to rise to the top. Curiously, these great performances have happened amid poor training conditions, further marred by the lack of adequate resources. East Africa could slightly be different. Athletes in this part of the continent have natural resources, which is often said to pose as a great advantage when it comes to their performance at track and field events. The mountainous nature of some of the countries in East Africa and the presence of the great Mount Kilimanjaro work for their advantage, people have always said. What is, however, important is that athletes from this subregion have made good use of this, and that explains why Kenyans, Ugandans, Ethiopians, Eritreans, you name it, are some of the best runners and athletes in the world. Well, that is topic for another day. But for now, an East African is spreading the tentacles of the region's athletic prowess. That is in cycling this time. Binyam Gemay is a household name as far as the 2024 international cycling race, the Tour de France, is concerned. The Eritrean born road cyclist sprang to stage 12 victory less than 36 hours ago, having outlasted Wout van Aert of Belgium and Arnaud Demer of France to finish in 4 hours, 17 minutes, and 15 seconds. The Tour de France, which is an annual means multi-stage bicycle race, holds annually. The 2024 edition of the Tour de France began on June the 29th this year in Florence, in Italy. That is exceptional. This year marks the first time the race started in Italy, and it is set to run off on July the 21st. And so the finish line is Nice, France, on July the 29th this year. Now, Gimai has had 3 wins. He won at stage 3, the 8th stage, and of course, the most recent, which is stage 12. The Eritrean community and the African community in general is definitely excited about this victory. But perhaps the one who is even more excited is the former president of the Eritrean American Athletics Association, Dr. Yohannes, who is guest in today's edition of Apex Snapshots, just on Apex One Radio. And so, did you know that Gemai was going to take the part in this year's edition of the Tour de France?
Yes, absolutely. So we know he's going to take part, but also we have a feeling that he's going to win a stage as well.
Mhm.
Um,
I just want to know because, like,
mhm,
prior to
mhm,
him beginning the competition,
mhm.
did you expect all of this, or is he the first Eritrean taking part in this competition?
No, he's not the first. Actually, the first two that took part in the Tour de France were Daniel Taklahaimanot and Marhau Kudus
Okay.
in 2015. And in that competition, also Daniel took the Kolkata, the mountain climbing.
Mhm.
He wear the jersey,
Okay.
for a couple stages. So that's a big success as well. The first black to have that jersey
Mhm.
on his back. So um, it has been developing throughout the years.
Mhm.
And Gurmai has been a powerhouse. So the Eritrean cycling started from the 1930s and developed in the 1960s.
Mhm.
Some Eritreans participated in the Olympics.
Okay.
And then in the 80s and 90s, we have some great riders, specifically in 1988,
Mhm.
Yamane took the African Cycling Championship in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay.
So we can see that it has been progressing. So the last generation is the Biniam Gurmai generation. So we were very excited to get that. Um, but it's an immense feeling to see it happen.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, the Tour de France has been going on for quite a long while, but hardly do we really see Africans spearheading and
mm,
having such performance as Guimais. So, what do you think has been the problem with Africa and African cycling as far as international competitions are concerned?
the Tour de France is the biggest cycling competition in the world.
Mhm.
It started in 1903, so it has been 121 years, and no Black African has won
Mhm.
ever. So Biniam becomes the first Black African to win. He opened the door, and that's an immense power for Africa, not only for Eritrea but for Africa.
Mhm.
So I think a couple other there's a Kenyan rider, pro rider, named David. He took part in Italy competition. Actually, I get to contact him as well. Um, he did his opinion. He's very see the great power in Binyam Gurmai, and that the commentators are not actually seeing. They're doing a great broadcast, but there are some elements that this guy is so powerful right now. I would say he's the most feared athlete in the Tour de France. So everybody is watching him. Everybody wants to. So just not that to see the first victory, but to see it repeated on the eighth stage, and then especially to see it for the third time on the 12th stage, and that was an epic moment. So excited for that and so happy for that. But the African cycling is coming now. So because of the development of running has been good. Africa has been doing good in running,
Mhm.
right? Especially East Africa, and soccer. West Africa has been great.
Mhm.
The cycling is a very expensive sport, right? Even the bikes are very expensive. So I think that resources in part, and then the culture is coming right now. But I think now it's going to flood the entire continent. So success, we can see more success right now
Mhm.
all over Africa.
Let's talk more about Guimau's current performance and current success. What accounts for this? Is it because he probably lives abroad and trains with better resources? Or what accounts for this success?
It's a lot of things they come for the success of Biniam. One is the culture in Eritrea. So cycling is like our blood. So we grow up every Sunday. We just go to the competition. to watch the cyclists, and people are crazy.
Mhm.
To see the celebration in Asmara and all over Eritrea and outside abroad by Eritreans is just a feeling that I felt when Eritrea got independence, right? So an immense feeling, an epic moment for Eritrea and the entire continent as well.
Right, that's interesting. His name is Binyam Germa. He is currently putting up a wonderful performance at the 2024 Tour de France, which started on June the 29th, and is expected to run off on the 21st of June, when the first athlete goes across the finishing line. It's a wonderful moment. The Tour de France has always been a great event, especially the days of Lance Armstrong. Well, we're in 2024, and it is an African who is making great news. His name is Binyam Gemai, and of course,
let me add a little bit to that.
Yes,
So
go ahead.
So expecting a stage win is, seeing his power. He did a tour win, stage win in Giro d'Italia as well.
Mhm.
So and then on other competitions he finished 1st, and on the World Championship he finished 2nd. So we can see that coming, but to see him, I don't know. Just he's so fluent in his English. He's so good in his communication as well. He's a guy that makes you proud in every sense, right? But to see the power coming, the underdog coming to take a stage win, it was a big news for the first time happening after 120 years. But to get a second stage win and to get another stage win, and also he finished 2nd in a couple stages.
Okay.
And he finished ninth place in a couple stages as well. So in the last 12 stages, Binyam has been 7 of them on the top 10. And I would say he's not just breaking African records, but
World records.
world records.
That's
Also on the
interesting.
green jersey classification, there was one we didn't see. I didn't see that to this power, right? But there was one cyclist, his friend, Natnael Brhane, who said that I will see Girmay on the green jersey as well. So
Wow.
not just the stages and not just to wear it for a couple days on the green jersey, but to broaden the gap. He's leading by 107 points difference. So the difference between Binyam and the second place on the point classification is 107 points. I think he's going to, we can see that he's going to take that. We just want him to have a safe competition.
He's definitely going to have a safe competition. He's been around this sport for a while now, and definitely from what Dr. Yohannes has just explained, he's coming from a background where he's already known victory, and of course, more of such victories are coming. But this time is different because it is happening at the biggest cycling stage on the planet. We're talking about the Tour de France, which rounds off on July the 21st. Rounds off means that the first athlete is expected in Nice, France, on July the 21st, and that will be a great moment. Just for some education, since you are a sports man and you know this perhaps better than a whole lot of people out there, who becomes the winner of this competition? Is this the number of stages you've won put together, or the person who gets to the finishing line, on the last day of the competition?
So the stage win is on the points who finished first, who crossed the line. So that's
for each stage.
For the stage.
Okay.
There is also a time classification, so that's the most powerful thing. So the time classification is that you can finish first, but if you finish one race behind, you are not good on the time, right? So so that's the yellow jersey.
So is there a timeline for each stage of the competition, like maybe from this city to this city, the athletes must not go beyond a certain time or something?
Um, no, so just everybody is given at the same start, right?
Okay.
So when they finish, so so the first guy is taking the time, right?
Mhm.
But if that first guy finished 10 seconds behind on the second race, he loses the yellow jersey. So the
Oh,
yellow jersey is on a time classification. So who is leading on the time on the
okay.
entire competition? So that yellow jersey might not be finishing first,
Mhm.
but the first 10 or 20 people are finishing at the same time. So
Okay.
the time classification is the yellow, the point classification is the green,
Okay.
and then the mountain climb is the polka dot jersey as well.
Oh, wow. That's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
That is so, so interesting. And of course, we're talking about the most prestigious cycling race in the world, the Tour de France, which is ongoing, and the athletes or the cyclists have already covered 12 stages, right? They've
Yes.
covered 12
Mm,
stages. We still have nine
mm,
to go, and hopefully, Biniam wins more stages. That's
mm.
definitely the hope of not only
Mm.
the Eritrean community, but the continent of Africa as a whole. But
Yeah.
let us talk a little bit about this hero. Whom many Africans are now coming across for the first time and getting used to that name. Uh, what is his background? Was he born in Eritrea? Did he grow up there as well?
Yes. He was born and raised in Eritrea. Just one guy celebrated in Asmara was talking about. He went to the same high school with him.
Mhm,
So he's only 24 years old.
mhm,
We can see a lot victories coming in this Tour de France, right?
mhm,
We can see hope that the green jersey comes in. We are almost confident on that as well. But coming back to the Tour de France and making another history, other athletes are also very powerful
mhm,
in Eritrea. So we have a lot.
mhm,
The cycling um, coaches, I would like Samson is one of the best coaches in Africa as well. Samson Solomon is the head coach for the national team in Eritrea.
mhm,
Also, Jonas Zekarias and Musi Ashel are very good, and their training is going to make a difference. The support from the people and the government as well is immense, and but Biniam um, was there, and then he start his competition on a mountain bike,
mhm.
and then he went to road racing. So a lot of people see his potential on the sprint. So his focus went there, and also he was being trained by UCI,
Mhm.
and then finally signed a contract with Intermarché right now. So and he's the top guy in that team right now. So everybody is just supporting him
Mhm.
and working with him. So it's a great team. So we want to support them as well for for all the support that they have done for Biniam. So he's a product of the people, I would say, but the culture and also his dream is big,
Mhm.
right? Growing up, Tour de France might be distance, right?
Mhm.
When he started, he was distance for him, but when he start biking and he see his power, and then he was on one interview, and he said, "When I go to Tour de France, not just to compete but to win."
Mm.
Yep. So
That was definitely a good one. Binyam went to the Tour de France, not just to compete, but to win, right? That's a wonderful one. And of course, he's been winning. The cyclist had three beautiful wins so far, and of course, the most recent is his. Of course, he is winner of the 12th stage of the Tour de France. Nine more stages to go, and does he win more? That is the question. Definitely, he should, and that's going to make uh, Africa proud. I'm talking about Africa being proud. What has been the reaction of the government in Asmara?
it's the government has been supporting the cycling, so investing in the cycling as well, buying bikes for the national team and in coaching. So they have an outside coach as well from at one time from Australia. Uh, but the power from inside has developed. So we have great coaches right now, great mechanics in Eritrea as well. So all that is an investment of the people and government, and the people also support and they give them, in the competitions they put money for to win. So that encourages the runners as well. So it's everybody contributing right now. The entire nation is going. So there is a lot of people from Europe and even from here going to the finish on 21st of July, going to Nice and showing their support and their happiness, and we support that. And also we are working to have July 1st to be an African cycling day.
July 1st is definitely going to be an African Cycling Day when Binyam would have emerged champion of the 2024 edition of the Tour de France. And should that happen, it will be a great day for the African continent. I would also imagine that the Eritrean media is beaming its light on these events as well. It's a big one because the Tour de France is a competition, worth talking about. This is Apex One Radio. This is Snapshot, the edition of July the 12th, 2024. We are live on radio and, of course, from the United States of America. So back to you, Dr. Yohannes. We've mentioned that you are the former president of the Eritrean American Athletics Association, EAAA. First of all, tell us about the EAAA. What is it all about? What does it do?
So Eritrean American Athletics Association, or in short, we call it EAAA.
Okay.
So EAAA or EAAA. So it was formed after, it was inspired by the first Eritrean Olympic participation. That's 2000 in Sydney Olympics. In that Olympics, Eritrea participated for the first time in running. So 3 runners representing Eritrea and 1 runner representing the U.S. And that was, I can remember I was in the Air Force. I was so excited. The next day I went out and ran 5 miles and then come back just thinking. So I call friends and some of the runners. I was running in the Air Force myself as well, and 5K and 10K. So I called all the runners in the US and Canada. So we said we're going to form an association. And first, we want to inspire Eritrean runners in the US and Canada. And then beyond that, we want to help to Eritrean Athletics Federation. Mainly, we supported runners in Eritrea. We sponsored runners. We gave financial awards. We gave shoes and sport gears and computer and books and things like that, so that we can appraise Eritrean athletics. The main focus was running at that time. So after the formation of EAAA, I was elected the president of that association. And then we start working. So we were able to send runners from the US to represent Eritrea a couple times in the World Cross Country Championship. And all Eritrean runners were inspired. In 2003, 2004, 2005, Eritrean runners were able to take from the entire Ohio. An Eritrean runner finished first in high school. And from Indiana, number 1 runner was from Eritrea in high school. And a couple brothers in California took first place in California in high school as well. At college level, an Eritrean runner took the cross-country championship. And at the national level, Mabratom Keflezgi and Bolota, both members of that organization as well, they were just shining and taking the 10K and 5K and marathon. So Meb ended up becoming an Olympic medalist in 2004 in Athens. And then at the same time, an Eritrean icon, Zersanaita Dese, also took a medal
Mhm.
in Athens in the 10,000 meters. So it's an inspiration. But the thing that I look back now, our main focus was to help Eritrea, but we should have been inspiring other African countries. So
Mhm.
we are taking a different approach now, right? Calling a cycling day, but we want to do what's our contribution to make African cycling, African athletics better. So we want to work with our African brothers and sisters so that they know what we are doing in Eritrea and we know what they are doing, and we can identify and to make um, our continent proud as well. So that's the goal. So we helped runners in Eritrea. We're in high school. In a couple, 2 to 3 years,
Mhm.
we were able to see them in the Olympics. So that's a great satisfaction and inspiration. Just a small gathering of Eritrean community to form EAAA and then to inspire the nation. That was good, and the work from back home and the support from the people is also great. So we want to revitalize EAAA now and do similar work, but in a bigger continent, in a continent type, right? So working with our African brothers and sisters as well.
Thank you so much. Notre invité matin, c'est Dr. Yohannes Debesai. Lui, un leader de la communauté érythréenne ici à Central Columbus, au Central Ohio. Et l'émission, c'est Apex Snapshots. La station, c'est Apex One Radio. Nous sommes aux États-Unis. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été avec nous, mesdames, mademoiselles, messieurs. Lui, comme je vous ai dit avant, c'est le docteur Yohannes. Il est ici pour parler de celui-là qui s'appelle tout simplement Binyam Guémaï. Binyam Guémaï vient d'arracher la 12e étape de la Tour de France. Merci beaucoup, mesdames. Merci beaucoup, mademoiselles. Merci beaucoup. Notre invité ce matin est avec nous. Et moi, c'est Ernest Kanjo. It's exactly 2 minutes past 10 here in the studio of Apex One Radio. And so we have 9 stages to go. What is the expectation, especially from your community? Eritreans expecting more wins.
Yes, of course, we expect more wins, but also there will be a lot of organizations and working together to make it better, right?
Mhm.
So Binyam's success has inspired the world, I would say. Lance Armstrong was talking highly of Binyam.
Mhm.
He said, "I love that guy," and he was looking at the funds in Asmara. He took some short videos in there. He was talking about that. These are crazy. He's planning to go to Eritrea as well.
Mhm.
Mark Cavendish talking about and saying that it's a massive sport in Eritrea, cycling. So Binyam is the product of that. So now his success has inspired the world, but also we want to do our contribution from every corner of the world
Mhm.
to make it better. But we want to work with our African brothers and sisters as well.
Mhm.
So when we see UCI, the cycling body ranking of Africa, so Eritrea is number 1,
Mhm.
and South Africa, Morocco, and Algeria, and then Mauritius, and number 6 is Cameroon. So I think each country should be looking into their athletes and what can they do to inspire them. What can they do to inspire more athletes will come and win the competition as well. So the door is open now. I think it's going to be flooded like it's running marathon at the world competition level. But we want to work with our African brothers and sisters. That's our commitment right now. We are reorganizing our community at every different levels. There are a lot of professional cyclists inside Eritrea and outside Eritrea. So I think they're going to put some support together, some knowledge together, some science together, and we're going to work in every level to take this to a higher level. So we have taken the African record, but we want to take the world record as well. So.
Le cycliste Binyam Gemaï fait la fierté de l'Afrique. Lui, là, qui vient de gagner le 12e étape de la Tour de France. On espère qu'il va gagner plusieurs autres étapes et ça sera une bonne chose pour le continent africaine. Merci beaucoup, mesdames, mademoiselles, messieurs. It's exactly 5 minutes past 10 here in the studio of Apex One Radio. And in a short while, we will be pulling the curtains on this show with our guest, Dr. Yohannes Debesai, former president of the Eritrean American Athletics Association, known by its acronym as EAAA. And of course, that association has thrown its might behind the hero cyclist Binyam, who is currently making Eritrea and the continent of Africa proud at the 2024 Tour de France, which gets to its finishing line on July the 21st, and that will be in the great city of Nice in France. Remember that the competition kicked off on June the 29th from Florence in Italy. That was for the first time the competition was starting off from Italy. Right, so we're about to run off this competition, and definitely we'll have you back because we'll continue to trail this story, and we'll probably have you back in the course of time to evaluate, and especially if Binyam turns out to become the newest champion of the Tour de France, it will definitely be a great celebration here in the studio of Apex One Radio. So, what word do you have for your community, and do you have any projects in the pipeline? Any projects? Do you have anything you're thinking about as far as promoting sports, not only back in Eritrea, but perhaps within the Eritrean community in the United States?
Yes, I think that's the goal. When a victory comes in, you want to 10x it, right? So that's our goal. We are working to revitalize Eritrea so that we can contribute into the running as well, but also organize everybody in every sense. So it can be different organizations on their own, but to promote Eritrean cycling as well. So we're going to be identifying communities as well. We want to work. So this before, so each community, each African community is working within their community. I think we need to change that. We need to do cross-community work as well to inspire the whole continent. So there will be efforts on that. One of the things that we are taking right now is to make July 1st an African Cycling Day, and we are working on that as well. But to have competition in Asmara to celebrate that, we can fundraise for that as well. And also other African countries can do to inspire their cycling, and they can take that and do competitions as well. So we're going to work with other African countries to do that as well.
Beautiful. Special thanks to Robbie Hawaii Saluharu, who is watching us and listening to the show. We also want to say good morning and thank you for watching us. Henok at Hani, we're also thinking of you. Masawa Love Fasil. And special thank you to you, Omaka Mokambe, and of course to Adig Vernew, my former colleague at the Herald newspaper back in the day. Well, and of course, Eric has a question here for you. There's a listener who has a question for you, Dr. Yohannes.
Sure.
Eric wants to know what Binyam's victory, means to African cycling, and he further wants to know if the EAAA has plans of starting a competition, as big as the Tour de France in Africa.
So thank you for that question. And So this means it's an immense power. If you see the happiness, if you watch the celebrations in Asmara or everywhere else, just super happy. I cannot, especially after the third one. Yesterday, I just forgot. I was screaming, and people looking at me as if I'm crazy. But it means a lot to the whole continent as well.
Mhm.
I heard David, originally from Kenya. He was a pro cyclist as well
Mm.
for an Italian team back in the days in 2002, 2003. Was talking about it's an immense power for Africa. It's going to inspire Africa. Um, but also, he was saying that what the analysts missed about Gurmai, so and the power of Gurmai right now. So we are talking about number one in the world and breaking records in the world stage beyond just being the first African. So as far as doing competitions, I think the Eritrean Cycling Federation will be working, no doubt about that, to put more competitions, perhaps on July 1st as an African Cycling Day.
Mhm.
But everywhere in Africa, we want to do that. So EAAA was specifically for running, but there are other bodies, as I said, professional cyclists. They are all over the continent, either from Eritrea or from Africa. They are inside Africa or outside Africa. I think they can put all their brains and tactics and science behind this, and we will take it to the next level. So
It will definitely be taken to the next level. And should Gemai emerge champion at the Tour de France this year, will definitely inspire, a lot of African cycling, associations or federations to, plan to put something really big on the continent as well. I know Cameroon has, a major cycling tournament, which has also been doing good over the past couple of years. But then I know there's still that urge, that yearning for a competition as big as Tour de France. Why not on the African continent? We just mentioned earlier on the show that Africa has contributed enormously to the development of global sports. So, Eric Venue, why not? Dreams are valid. Thank you so
thank you.
much.
I miss I missed
Yes.
that part. So
Mm.
I was just focusing on what can be done immediately
Mm.
to inspire the cycling.
Right.
But of course, yes, there will be more competitions, whether everywhere in Africa, as a matter of fact. Rwanda is doing Tour de Rwanda, which is very common.
Mm.
Eritrea participates there every year as well. So I think Eritrea can host such, but it can be anywhere in Africa. So we want to inspire. It will be done. It will be done. Yeah.
Okay. So just before we run off, let me know what is actually happening in your various Eritrean communities, not only in Central Ohio but across the country. So are people gathering in tea houses to watch to watch Gemer perform whenever he's on the road? Is that what happens? You come together,
Yes.
you watch him, you celebrate. So just
Well,
describe how it's going on in the community.
absolutely. That's what happening everywhere. And so here in Columbus, is a friend of us. A lot of friends that do cycling as well.
Mhm.
And then they called me as like, we are watching this. Come join us. So I was working. I didn't get to go, but
Mm.
it's just when the wind comes in, like the third wind and second wind,
Mhm.
people watching it from A to Z. As today, it's going on, and people are watching it.
Mhm.
And victory comes in, people are on the streets.
Wow.
If you see Asmara streets packed with people,
Wow.
cars stopped and just beeping, and it's a feeling so hard to describe. So
Beautiful feeling, indescribable feeling. And we know the streets of Asmara have been very, very vibrant since the start of this competition. And also because a son of the soil has been making that country proud. We hope that more of such wins will come up so we can jump out there in the streets and celebrate. Well, we'll continue to follow up with this beautiful story. I remember years back when we were celebrating Lance Armstrong, uh, who is uh, who is not even an African, but we were there, jumping and celebrating each time he won the stretch of the race. But this time we have an African, so wonderful opportunity for us to celebrate. Well, we wish you the best, Dr. Yohannes, and hopefully you'll be back in the studio not too long from now. Any last word for the people of your community?
Let's just enjoy the moment. It's a great moment for all of us, and just so happy, super happy. We just want to enjoy the moment, but just contemplate things that we can do to inspire Africa.
Let us enjoy the moment and continue doing the great things that inspire their continent. My name is Ernest Kanjo. Quintin and Okon were here in the studio with us, and they gave us wonderful moral support. Marcel Adig was our producer. He controlled the show digitally from Waldshut in Germany. Our guest in the studio was Dr. Yohannes Debesai. Once again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Do have a fantastic rest of the day as you plan to begin the weekend, perhaps in grand style. May God bless you and keep listening to programs on Apex One Radio. Bye for now.